Yeah, I know. Oh,
Actually, I should have opened my text message on my laptop. Idiot. I could do that too.
hey, we're live.
Whoa! Look at that. Already 9 seconds. 10 now. Now 11. It's amazing. Welcome, everybody. Dr. Belisa Phrenic, there, right there, with the ball cap. Yeah, that's her. And myself are going to talk about breathing. And I know everybody's going to say, breathing. Dude, I've been doing that since I came out of the womb. I know how to breathe. Yeah, that's what we thought as well. And then we found out we didn't know what to do. And then when I start focusing on breathing, my whole life changed. And every person that we talk to or teach or whatever we do, it has the same experience. Weird, right? I mean, if 90% of us is breathing wrong and suddenly you learn how to breathe the correct way, you can add up to 5 times, guys, more oxygen in your body. What do you think that's going to do? It's freaking amazing. That's what it's going to do. So we're going to talk about breathing. I hope you stick with us, that you never think, I know it already, because that's pride talking. Trust me. Listen and learn, and you too will be helped. Right, doctor? How's it? What have you been doing the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks since the last time we were here?
I know it's been like 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just got back from San Antonio. I'm sorry I did not see you, but all I saw was the airport and the hotel. Did a little work with Wounded Warrior, some amazing veteran athletes there, which was just tremendous to be able to work with those folks. So it was definitely an honor and a privilege to work with those guys from Wounded Warrior. I hope I'll be able to do that again. Oh, there we go.
Very nice.
Yep. There's my screen too. Look at that. So that's me in the pink, obviously. And all kinds of, these are Paralympic professional athletes there. So really hardcore stuff. It was great. I got to play a little bit of wheelchair rugby, which is so much harder than I thought. I mean, I don't know what I thought, but wheelchair rugby is really hard. So anyway, if you want to know more about that kind of sport, I guess the movie that that everyone watches or has watched is an old one called Murder Ball. And that's what started getting me interested in this. But that was a lot of fun. That's what I've done. What about you?
I was just going to ask you about but in a wheelchair, it's harder for them to breathe, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're sitting the whole time.
Exactly. So it depends on the wheelchair and what's called the dump of the wheelchair. So if you have spinal cord injury that's very high on your body, you need your wheelchair, you have to be placed into your wheelchair at an angle to be able to give you stability. So it really depends on where the injury is. So you know this, if the injury is up here and you know where exactly it is, boss, right? Number 3, 4,
5. Yeah, keep the diaphragm alive.
Keep the diaphragm alive. So if you have an injury all the way up here, you're not going to be able to use, or you'll have limited use of your diaphragm. You have to be able to do other things to breathe, and yeah. So it was awesome. But all kinds of folks. We had single amputations, double amputations, spinal cord injury, all kinds of really fascinating stuff, and just amazing folks, really hardcore as far as how they train.
Yeah, but it's already, when you choose the military, these guys, we should really, these are our sheep, so to say, right? The sheep dogs who protect the sheep. And those guys are already animals going into the army, and you really think that an injury is going to stop them? Nah, that's not going to happen. They just keep on going, and then Paralympics. So,
fantastic. What about you? What have you been doing the last 2 weeks?
Traveling a lot. Let me see. A couple of weeks ago, I did a seminar in Kentucky with the Wonder Boy, Stephen Thompson, and his dad was there, Ray. That was a lot of fun. Coco Civicin was there as well. From there, I went to Kentucky to visit my buddy Kenny Rice and his father, Reggie. And Kenny is he's the commentator for the Kentucky Derby for a long time. So we went to check everything out. We met, Rich Steele. Rich Steele was the Kentucky Derby winner. He was an 80-1 favorite. Yeah. So he won to 80 because he was a last-minute replacement. Like literally 2 days before it started, a horse dropped out. He got in. They gave him no chance, and he won the whole freaking thing. And if you see a horse like that, man, it's pretty cool. I made a whole video about it.
Yeah.
Because when I came home, I had 6 hours to sleep. I had to go right away back to the airport, and then I went to Miami for karate combat. And I figured, I'm going to film on my phone a little bit so people have an idea what I do on the road. So that video is going to drop in, I think, a week or something. And then I have a little bit of an idea what I'm doing. But it's all fun stuff. That's the great thing about our lives. We do what we love, and then we actually get paid for it. So you cannot ask for a better life.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I love volunteer work, man. So anyway, boss, I got a couple questions for you I wanted to start with right away so that we can get through a bunch of them. And then we'll take questions that are coming in as well. So do you mind me starting with that?
Yeah, you just go.
So I've got Kevin from Berlin asks, boss, how recovery has become really important in the last few years. How did you do recovery before when you were younger? And what does your recovery itinerary or schedule look like now? So you want to answer that?
Yeah. Okay. So when I was younger and when I was competing, I didn't know anything about breathing and what it could do for me because so I was just resting and relaxing and get my mind off of fighting because I was 24/7 always. I'm super obsessive compulsive once I start with something, which is great for when you have to do something. But if you don't have to do anything and, like alcohol and drugs start lurking, it's really bad for that because you want to excel at everything. So also that. So it's really hard to find things right away. You have to stay busy because otherwise it's going to go wrong. But nowadays, for me, it's I do like a 30-minute session of breathing. And the way I breathe, stimulating the vagus nerve, right? The vagus nerve is the nerve that controls your heart rate, your blood pressure, and then in turn, once that lowers, it lowers your cortisol levels. I would say cortisol levels as well, so you get nice and relaxed. Now, what I used to do as a fighter in the dressing room, I would always sit and inhale and go hum. I would vibrate, I would hum, and I would put the vibration, a lower sound on my belly, and it made me really calm. And now when we dove into breathing and you taught me everything about breathing, I realized what I was doing. I was stimulating the vagus nerve, and the best way to stimulate that vagus nerve, which again, turns your blood pressure lower and your heart rate lower, and then your cortisol level. So it's important nerve to stimulate is by breathing. Yeah. That's the biggest one, diaphragmatic breathing, correct breathing though. Yep. But there are other ways as well, singing, humming, cold water in your face, and then you can massage your eardrums on the inside. That will help as well. Now, what I unknowingly did, I was doing diaphragmatic breathing. I would inhale, a shorter inhale with a longer inhale, and I would hum at the same time. So I connect two of them in one thing. And then later, many years later, when I start learning about breathing, I go, wow, I was doing that unknowingly by myself. And that really helps me. And it makes you so calm. You just relax. And then I don't meditate. I just whatever pops up in my mind, I'll go with that. And most of the time, that's a relaxing thing. It's important that you don't do when you're stressed out. And you start doing because otherwise all the stress comes up, and then of course you can't meditate. But that's what I do right now. Just calming down, bringing everything down.
Nice. I like the hum. I like the humming. And actually, the other breath you can do is a yoga breath called Ujjayi breath, where it's kind of a snore. It's a pre-snore kind of sound. But anything like that vibrates you is really good as far as calming you down. Like you said, extending the exhale, making sure you're breathing diaphragmatically, because a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm breathing diaphragmatically, but they're not really breathing diaphragmatically. And then again, for recovery, if you don't mind me jumping in, is that when you're breathing diaphragmatically, is that you are pushing toxins out of your body. So, adrenaline, oxidative stress, lymph is like, that's what's actually good for recovery. And if you're putting yourself into that calm state, your body can heal faster. So that's, with the athletes I work with now, is that concept of putting yourself into that super calm state means your body can do what it has to, which means heal so that you can go again tomorrow. So cool. You want to give me one, or should I give you the next one?
No, I'm going to fight. I'm going to find one for you. First of all, before you say that, I want to hear you do that sound that you said, the snorting sound. So what is it?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. So you go, yeah. So it's kind of a Darth Vader kind of a noise, but it's in the back of your throat. And like I said, it's a pre-snore. So it's this, like you're almost going to snore. It's the back of your throat. and ujjayi means ocean. It's the sounds of the ocean. So it's sort of supposed to kind of feel like that. But I like the humming as well. And I actually was talking about this the other day, is I had a patient who could not hum. For whatever reason, they just couldn't do it. They'd never hum. They couldn't do it. So I got them a kazoo, and they were able to get that vibration and that feeling of the vibration from a kazoo. Now, if you guys don't know what a kazoo is, look it up. It's this kind of silly toy that, Boss, you probably had one, right?
I have no clue what they do.
No, you don't know what kazoo is?
Oh, so no, I know it if you show it, because it's probably
yeah.
a Dutch word. It's completely different.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like it's a little pipe, and it vibrates and makes this weird little noise on top. And I mean, that's what games were when we were kids, is they were like super simple little weird things. And this little kazoo thing just buzzes when you exhale, and it has a little vibration on it. I'm sure you could find it online. I don't see kids play with it anymore because they've got like PlayStation instead of kazoos, but a kazoo will work as well.
So I would have just asked her, the woman who can't hum, I would have asked her a very difficult question. And she goes, oh, you're doing it.
Yeah, there would have been other ways. Yeah, she would have had to go, There you go.
All right, come for you. How do you integrate therapy and breathing?
That's a good one. That's a really good one, because, I'm a psychologist, so I do therapy, but now I always integrate the breathing. So usually in therapy, you're talking, and which means you're staying pretty much in your frontal lobe. You're understanding things that are going on, and it's about, telling your story, expressing your feelings, having another person who mirrors and interprets. But with a lot of folks, understanding doesn't get integrated. So you understand why you do things. You have lack of closure. You obsess about things. You have daddy issues, like whatever it is that's going on, but you don't actually, you have a hard time integrating it and changing it. Now, you can use the breath, and that's what I do, is that once you understand something, you've figured it out, is that you put yourself into that meditation with the breathing, and that's where your body gets to understand where you'd like to be. So you put yourself in that kind of hypnotic, trancey state, and that's where you can say, this happened, it's over, I want to move on, or I forgive, or, I'm going to move on from this and do something different. And that's really the link between the body and the mind. And it can help you move the topics that you're working on in therapy through much more quickly. So it's pretty interesting. And that's what I do all the time now, is that we talk about it, figure it out, which is the front of the brain, then use breathing to try to move a person out of that space into the present through the breathing meditation. And then once you've moved on, you need to sort of practice new skills in the new way that you want to be. So that's what I do.
And then they're in their parasympathetic state also, nice and relaxed, and everything comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so I got one for you, so our producer and DJ, Jari, if you find a good question you want to put up on the screen, please do. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask Boss about, we have Jerry from Raleigh, North Carolina. Which quadrant? So he says, I watched Breathing for Warriors, MMA, the video, which is our video, and you talk about breathing in quadrants. Which quadrant is the hardest to work on, and how would you recommend getting this to be better? So that's all you, Boss.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a bunch of you, because the first ones are not real, but officially they are. But I know what you mean with the question. So first of all, 95% of the people, they breathe with the lower belly, right? So everybody's breathing wrong. So what I wanted to say is that chest breathing will be the hardest one, if you think about that. But since everybody's already chest breathing, it's not that hard. So it's a weird question. But then you can also say, imagine chest breathing if somebody's crushing your belly and you can only breathe through your chest. Then again, 95% of you are already chest breathing, so that wouldn't be hard as well. So then I would think, okay, the hardest one would be back breathing muscles, because your back breathing muscles, we never use. I have an inspiratory muscle trainer, the O2 trainer, right? And I tell all these people, if you use the back breathing exercise, to not do the 30 repetitions that they do, because the next day, the next 4 days, you're going to be in intense pain because you're using muscles you never activated before. And once she did that, Dr. Belisa Phrenic, actually, she showed me that exercise. And once I started adding that to my front breathing muscle exercise, that completely changed my game. I was already getting very strong, but that was another big level, because now you have a 360-degree circumferential breath all around your body. So I would say back breathing. And the way to train that is, well, you kind of do it with your mind. If you want to do it with resistance or without, that doesn't really matter. But it's leaning over, leaning on your elbows is what I would do, because then you relax the whole front and you can focus on your back muscles. And then when you start inhaling, and then while you're inhaling, you focus on your back to expand, and the lower part of your rib cage on your back in the center. Focus on that, and you'll be amazed how the body works, because the body immediately does that. It's like when you do it with an inspiratory muscle trainer, you will literally feel those muscles suddenly working. And like I said, since you never worked them before, watch out with that. But if you do them without resistance, of course, go right ahead, and it's good for you. But I would say that one, because that's the muscle pretty much nobody uses.
Yeah, that's true. Good one. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more, boss, okay?
Okay.
What is the worst injury you ever experienced? And how do you use the breath to help you recover from injury?
Well, yeah, at the time, I would say, of course, well, first of all, it's not an injury. You would say the first one is asthma, but then by breathing, I got rid of the asthma. Yeah. So that's good. My neck is severely damaged. I got the fusion at the front and the back, and it's also 3 to 5. We were just talking about the phrenic nerve was attached to that. So thankfully, it didn't affect my phrenic nerve, which takes care of the diaphragm. So there's a very important one, because you want to keep that muscle, of course. But yeah, I went from 2 pounds arm curls to 15 pounds. And people go like, "Oh, that's good." I go, "Yeah, but that's over 12 years." So you would think you can do a little bit. Like in the gym, I have 40 on my left. And I did 15 pounds on my right. So every day, I don't think it will be stronger anymore. And I stopped complaining when I got my hand back. I couldn't pull the trigger from a gun. So I couldn't do anything with my right hand. I started learning everything with my left hand. It was a freaking nightmare. But then after my 4th surgery, then my hand came back. And that's when I said, "Okay, Lord, I'm good. I won't complain anymore. Got my hand back. Now it just looks weird, but I don't really care about that. And it's okay. It's not strong. It's like 30% compared to my left, but still 30%. It's okay compared to what it was before. Like if you can't lift 2 pounds, then it's a very scary thing. So yeah, I would say that's the worst one that I had.
Hey, Nathan is asking, are those back breathing muscles different from intercostals? Yeah.
Yes, both, right? First, your back breathing muscle is also the diaphragm you activate, but also your intercostals on the back you activate, because they're all necessary, of course, to open up that chest. So it's intercostals and it's your diaphragm, the back of your diaphragm.
Yeah. So nice. Thank you.
I got one for you.
Oh, okay, go.
Somebody's brother got diagnosed. Oh, we just talked about this, with unilateral phrenic nerve damage. Yep. How will this affect his breathing?
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of people have phrenic nerve damage. They just don't know it. And it's the more extreme cases where you end up feeling breathless and you go to the doctor. So it means that half the diaphragm is affected. The other half is not. So if you have phrenic nerve damage, and often this happens, a car accident, a sports accident, is that now half your diaphragm is not moving. But again, it means that you have half that is moving, and you're training that half, and you're being able to access as much lung, and making those muscles really strong is particularly important for you. So is this, what did you say? Was this guy's brother?
Yes, this guy's brother.
Yeah, okay. So what I would say is go, and if you haven't had pulmonary testing yet, it's called pulmonary function testing, is that get that so that you have a baseline. Take your breathing IQ on thebreathingiq.com and see what your breathing IQ is. Make sure your breathing IQ goes to an A. That means being able to stretch your thoracic cavity as much as you can to get to an A and strengthen your core so that you can exhale well. And then you add strengthening exercises so that the part of your body that still has phrenic nerve activation gets strong. So can you still have pulmonary function that's normal, only having half the diaphragm? Yes, you're going to have to work at it. But the good news, and they might not tell you this at your hospital's respiratory therapist clinic, is that you need to do the breathing. You need to do it hard. You need to do it well. And you can actually still feel good and still do your sport. But again, it depends on getting your breathing IQ to be an A and working on those breathing muscles, because your diaphragm on the other side is not going to be working. So the one that is working needs to be strong, and those intercostals need to be strong as well. Yeah. Good question.
Nice. Yeah. All right. And talking about oxygen, how much oxygen does the brain use?
Ooh,
I know it burns like crazy, right?
Yeah, it actually is the organ that uses up the most oxygen. So 20% of your oxygen goes to your brain.
Wow.
There's a great article that looks at chess players and how they lose weight.
Yeah.
And that one is super interesting, because you're thinking, oh, well, they're sitting there, they're not doing anything, right? But they're focusing and they're thinking. So they burn calories, through the sitting and the thinking. So your brain uses a lot of oxygen. And actually, when it doesn't get enough oxygen, you can end up with something called vascular dementia, which is dementia that has to do with the brain not getting enough oxygen. So your breathing is important for so many things, and for your brain health is definitely one of them.
I read that article because you sent it to me about the chess players. And for the people at home, you have a bit of an idea. In the past, they would have like a 2-week competition. They would play every day. That won't happen anymore, because people were literally dropping. They burn over 6,000 calories by sitting, by just thinking. 6,000 calories a day. Imagine what you have to eat in order to load that up. So when they did a tournament, like for 2 weeks, at the end, everybody was getting really sick because they were just burning way too many calories. So it's crazy. I had no clue that the brain was actually doing that. And 20% of the oxygen.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Hey, you guys who are writing in, if we don't get to your question, put it on the Facebook page. Boss and I are both really good about answering questions on the Facebook page. So if we don't get to it, please put it on one of our Facebook pages, and we'll answer it. We had a question up there. Yeah. Did you see that one?
I saw it. Yeah.
Oh.
Instead of the breathing exercise, can I just do the auto trainer and the exercise? Gets rid of the confusion. Okay, so both is very important to do. Just the breathing exercise to do. What would you say, doctor? I would say the inspiratory muscle training is good to strengthen the muscles. Mm-hmm. And you can also, of course, strengthen the muscle by breathing exercise. It's just going to take a longer time. But doing the breathing exercises, you really oxygenate your body again. So they're both really good to do. And if you do inspiratory muscle training and you're training your diaphragm and your intercostals, you're going to be able to do better breathing exercises, because you are working out the muscles responsible for breathing. Would you say something like that?
Yeah, what's nice about the O2 trainer is that you can just carry it around and, work on your inhale whenever you can. I would tell you to work on your exhale as well. And that's something that you can use the O2 trainer, but you don't have to, is where you exhale and make sure that you're squeezing. Again, or the balloons. It's actually, hey, I actually just saw a post. It was in the New York
Post, right?
New York Post.
Yeah, that was awesome.
About this Japanese, what is his name? Kodai Senga. I'm totally saying that wrong, but it's a Japanese baseball player for the Mets, and how during downtime he blows up balloons, which is freaking brilliant. Oh, good, we have it. It's so brilliant, because there we go. So that's what he does. Now, remember that if you're blowing up balloons and you're blowing them up and you're not moving your shoulders, your inhale's wide, your exhale's narrow, is that you are actually training your exhale muscles there. So that's not inspiratory muscle training, that's expiratory muscle training. But honestly, I'm a huge believer the really, really critical importance of you having a good exhale. So I love that this guy blows up balloons on his downtime, because otherwise, you're on your phone, you're chewing gum, you're spitting. Like, this is actually really productive that he does this in his downtime. It's really, really cool. So I would say learn all the exercises there are and do whatever you can as often as you can. And just a takeaway is make sure you're focusing on your inhale muscles and your exhale muscles, because they're completely different muscles. Inhale is diaphragm, external intercostals. Exhale is all your core muscles and your internal intercostals. So separate. Yeah. Okay. What else do we got? Oh,
another question. It says, and I think I know what you're going to say. This, I play tennis, but what stops me is I'm getting out of breath. And then he says, but I don't get out of breath with other sports. And why is that?
Yeah. You want to take a stab at that one?
I'm pretty sure that I know, because it's the sudden stops the whole time that you have to make to the right or to the left, and you're shocking your body and you're squeezing your core. And once you squeeze your core, it's like in fighting, you can't breathe. So you're interrupting your breathing pattern the whole time. And that gets you super tight. It's even on the treadmill when I go incline, and I go a hard incline, 25% or so, and then I just walk. But once you do that and you lean over a little bit more, that already starts crushing your abs, and it's harder to breathe just by doing that. So I can only imagine with playing tennis.
Yeah. So, boss, you're spot on. You obviously have had a really great teacher.
Yes,
what happens in tennis, and there's other sports, soccer as well, rugby, but especially in tennis, is that you have to stop and change directions. So this, your diaphragm is your main muscle of balance as well. So as you stop, you squeeze your body, and now you have to go in a different direction, and you're trying to breathe at the same time. So in this case, making sure that you train being able to switch really quickly. So inhale fast, exhale fast, inhale fast, exhale fast. That's what's going on, is that your inhale and your exhale, being able to do it quickly, needs training. And that's what good tennis players do that really have harnessed the breath, is that they're able to stop, they're able to hit, and they're able to breathe between all those other things happening. So right on target. And that's what's happening in other sports. So if you're running, that doesn't happen. If you're swimming, that doesn't happen. But tennis is really challenging for that reason. Your diaphragm and your muscles are being used for two really important things. So yeah, great question. Nice. Yeah.
I love it. And actually, if you think about it, it's like breathing in quadrants. We kind of talked about, when I do it on our course that we have, I do the cable machine routine. Mm-hmm. And that's because you constantly have to flex, and you have to find a way at the moment you pull back, but you're still pulling back while you have resistance. But there is a little tiny pocket that you can breathe. And that's how you learn to breathe, just because before you start flexing. And that's what Dr. Belisa mentioned. Just before they stop, they probably knowingly already took a breath or exhaled, one of the two.
Yeah.
Exhaled. So yeah, you have to really, and then we're talking about it in fighting as well. The different stages of fighting. The closer you come to each other, the more different you start breathing, believe it or not. Because if I'm right in front of my opponent and he hits my gut, well, that could be a problem. If I'm breathing in, I'm going to go down. You see, so, and then when you step like a foot away, you're breathing different again. But once you understand all these ways of breathing, I mean, your stamina increases so much by just doing. But a lot of people don't realize, and I was doing the Bert Kreischer show, and I was talking to the comedian. And he's famous because he always takes his shirt off and his little belly. And he was talking about breathing. And I said, well, you're actually breathing better than people who are long and lengthy, because, you're heavier down here. So there's a lot of weight that for people, if they have to raise their shoulders, well, they're going to have to carry that weight up the whole time. So automatically people who are heavier set, they breathe better than the lengthy people.
Yeah. Mechanically, yeah.
Yeah.
Mechanically.
So all these things, they go hand in hand. You have to just make sure that you can breathe everywhere. That's what we're doing, breathing in quadrants. We teach you how to breathe from this side, this side, this side, and this side, and then also on the back.
In the back.
So once you understand that, and you do, for instance, you do submission fighting, jiu-jitsu, and somebody's knee on belly, well, you know now how to breathe and what to use the other quadrant. If the knee is on this side, well, you can breathe on this side, and you can use your chest muscles again. If they're on your chest, the hardest one, of course, is going to be the smart guys who are leaning on the diaphragm. Because once you lean on the diaphragm, and this was another thing that I did in fighting always, I never got it that people in side mount, they would grab an arm and they would lean on the ground with the arm. And I go, why is that? And I'm talking about this also in the course. I show you that on a student. I would always lay with my whole body weight. I would be on the balls of my feet, and I would lay with my forearm on the diaphragm the whole time, on the lower rib part. I didn't know the diaphragm was that. I was just doing it because I knew I would stress them out. And once you start stressing people out, they start thinking about other things or thinking about this. They're not thinking about fighting what they should do. And most of the time, they will give you a little in for a submission setup or for something else like that.
Awesome. Awesome. So all that's in Breathing for Warriors, MMA, the video, which there's links to.
We should call it Breathing for Everyday Warriors, because if you say Breathing for Warriors, people are going to go, oh, so it's only for fighters. No, it's not. Trust me. It is for everybody. If you just attack life in whatever you do, you should really look into this course. Go to the website, breathingforwarriors.com. Just check out the preview and see what you think, because we talk about a lot of stuff that I didn't know. But I remember I had to study really freaking hard for it. So that was good.
I know. Remember all those words that you're like, do I have to say this word? What was the hardest word, Vas?
What was it that I say mouse the whole time? What was that?
Instead of mouse.
That was mouse. That was the simple one.
We had a couple good ones. Some interesting stuff. Breathing for Warriors, the book, is out in Chinese. Like, see if we can put that up.
Finally, I can read it now.
Yeah, and the cover is, I can't read what it says, but I'm assuming it's all the same things that's in the English book. So it's kind of cool. And they put battle ropes on the cover. There we go. So that's the Breathing for Warriors is now out in Chinese, which is pretty cool. I know. I love that.
That's good. Oh, wow.
I was a big, I loved watching monster movies, like Japanese monster movies.
Oh, Godzilla.
Godzilla. Gamera was my favorite. But so like I look at this and it reminds me of that. But so the other thing, we're going to start wrapping it up. Like I said, please put your questions on Facebook so we can answer them. The other thing we've got coming up is, hey, boss, you let folks know. What are we doing? What are we doing in about 2 weeks?
Good. So in May, the first week of May, we're going to the C4 Ranch. And this is cool because these are like ex-military, high-level military guys, Marines and SEALs and all that stuff who need to help. I mean, they see stuff overseas that we don't even see in movies. It's pretty horrible. Yesterday, a friend of mine he is a retired SEAL Team 6 member. And then when you hear some stories, what they say, I mean, if you see your friend spread out and a leg is there and a head is there, it's pretty freaking gnarly for people like that. So we're going to go over there, Dr. Blaise and myself, and we're going to talk about the art of breathing, because needless to say, it's great for PTSD, anxiety, because it all starts with breathing. And of course, once I'm there, because they said, hey, if you're there, can you do a few classes of fighting, of course. So we're going to add that as well.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of guys, and we're there for 2 days. It's not an open thing, but just, people always ask, like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you teaching? So that's who we're teaching next week. And next time we meet, we'll let you know how it goes. Maybe we'll have a couple pictures if we're allowed to take them. And yeah, you want to?
No, I want to ask one more question from you, because I'm really, and I should this. Okay, so if I take a deep diaphragmatic breath, I'm completely filled up, and if I want to add more to it, I use my chest a little bit. And then I started thinking, because then I didn't use the top part of my chest. So I go, wait a minute. So does that make a hybrid breather take more oxygen in than a diaphragmatic breather? Because he's also using the middle part and the top part. He's using everything. And I would like to know what the answer is for that.
So I would say, so the question is a hybrid breather better than a horizontal breather? And if you've gone over and taken your breathing IQ, you can see that these are different types of breathers. You're either vertical, which is most people are vertical, horizontal, which is most people are not until they train it. And then there's a hybrid, which is a little bit of both. So a little bit of both is not good, because you're only a little bit diaphragmatic and a little bit vertical. So what you want to be is diaphragmatic 360 degrees. So you get an A breathing IQ. And then if you need to, is that you can actually go to the top part of your body and add a little bit more in moments that you need a bigger breath. But being a hybrid means that you're not fully vertical. You're not fully having access to your diaphragm. And what I want you to have is choices as far as how you breathe and how big your breath is. And you do that by becoming fully horizontal. And then if you want to, you add a little bit of breath with the top of your body. If you've got someone's knee on your chest, you're going to breathe in quadrants. If you can't breathe forwards, you're going to breathe through your back. So that's the point of that. Yeah.
Look, and also what I was thinking, because it is only, I'm asking this because if we say belly breath, it's officially, that is not really a belly breath, right? That's just for us to get inside your head. So, like, oh, I got to put my concentration here, but preferably you want to use the breath using the lowest part of your rib cage, right? And if you open it up, you're automatically opening also the top of your chest.
Yep.
Right. So then it becomes good. But if you just only do your belly, yes, you will open it up. But once you do diaphragmatic breathing, like using the lower part of your rib cage, that's
so I'm going to add to that is that the reason we do belly breathing is because it starts lowering the breath in your body. Is that you need to go to a belly breath. If you've been a vertical breather, you need to go to a belly breath, and then the middle of your body expands. So do a belly breath first, although that's not where you want to stop. That's the first breath you want to take. And then the one you're trying to get to is abdominothoracic, so the bottom of your ribs and your belly. And that's what the breathing IQ measures. It's a measure of abdominothoracic respiratory flexibility. So yes, belly breath, but then the next step is belly and the bottom of the ribs. Hey, I just want to give a shout out to Javier, desde Mexico. Soy un fan. Oye, Javier, no eres un fan mío. ¿Qué pasa? Anyway, shout out to you. What else do we got? We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, what do you got? You got anything more, or do we have any crazy questions that we can do?
We got a lot of crazy questions. We're going to look through these. We're going to look through the ones on Facebook that you post and use them for next time. And yeah, thanks for being here today. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
And, we will see you next month again. We're going to keep on doing these things. Hopefully you guys should really start watching your breathing now. And hopefully when you come back next time, you're going to realize, oh, wait a minute, it really did something for me. And then spread the word. That's what we're doing. And come back for more. That's what we love.